Yo, what's up, everybody? First episode of Scorch the Fears podcast. My name's Jonah. This is Curtis Harvey, an amazing guy, amazing friend. Curtis, how you doing,
Yes,
brother?
sir. I'm good, man. I'm good. How about yourself?
Doing all right. Yeah, dude, I appreciate you coming on and being like the first person. Obviously, you're an amazing friend to me. We like do deals together. I always tell you I want to be you when I grow up, more or less. Told you that several times now.
Yeah.
So first question, why all the clocks in the background?
Well, those clocks are my wife put the clocks there in the office because she was going to put nameplates and just put places we've traveled in the world. But that's another one of her projects she hasn't gotten to yet. She'll get to that one sooner or later.
I love
But
it.
she's still doing the Christmas decorations right now. So
Cool. So I'm going to start this off by quickly introducing at least my idea for this podcast, because I know a lot of people, anybody who's watching, like they might have seen some Instagrams and seen some other stuff, but I kind of want to explain at least my goals with this podcast.
Okay.
So I feel like I see a lot of people who are, when they're starting out, and this happened with me too, and Curtis knows it, that they had like a screwed up mindset, right? Like they didn't have the mindset to be able to do entrepreneurial stuff because they were just in a different place, in more of a survival mindset versus an abundance one. But it is really hard to get over that. And I think it comes from like whatever fears we're dealing with when we're, starting out, or just in general. I mean, there's still fears that I bet you deal with and I deal with that might even be keeping us back, which I'm going to try to get into all of that. But first, I'm going to start with, I just want to know, like, Curtis, how'd you get into business? What was your first business? Was it real estate wholesaling?
No, I've been I think running businesses forever. I used to have a computer company where I used to go out and do computer repairs. I've had
Nice.
a lot of things. Actively right now, though, I got a credit repair company. I have obviously a wholesale business. I have an education company where we do Acquisition Academy, where we train people how to actively wholesale. I have a wholesale in the box, where we take people and, we make sure that they get OKRs, KPIs, the structure of how to run a wholesale business and including CRMs. And we walk them through that process and help them be successful. And then I, in the process of going through, this entrepreneurship and trying to get out and do a lot more marketing, I end up buying an agency just recently too, a marketing agency, so that I could actually market my companies, right? Because I was spending so much money with them. It made more sense to just acquire one and kind of tuck it into my current business, and be able to do that. So for me, that's, I've done a lot of stuff, dude. I've been a thoroughbred racehorse trainer, at all the major tracks in California. I mean, I've done a lot of stuff,
Yeah, we were talking earlier. You did jujitsu too, which I do as well.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just crazy all this stuff that you've done.
Way back in the days, I did jujitsu, I did taekwondo, way back in the days. So
amazing stuff. So okay, so you're doing a ridiculous amount of stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you were starting, let's say the computer repair business, because that sounds like the first real business that you did.
Yep.
Did you have any fears? Like, what do you think? Do you remember?
No.
I don't know how long ago that was.
The problem is I didn't know what I didn't know, right? And so
that's a quote.
Had I had a understanding of marketing, that may have been the only business. I mean, but that's what I think happens, right? If I understood marketing and I understood how to really grow out a business, right? If I understood how to kind of develop some, we talk about this all the time, right? Developing SOPs within a business, find streamlined processes, then being able to track.
Explain what an SOP is. So for people who don't know.
Yeah, standard operating procedure, right? It's how you do specific tasks within your business, right? And for me, that's the one key element that helped me be successful within the wholesale businesses is once I started wholesaling, I had that fear, right? It's starting out like, I think we talk about that too, right? It takes a while to get to an abundant mindset within wholesaling because there's a lot of illusions about first, what is success, and the illusion about because everybody thinks that they're going to jump into business and they're going to do a deal in a week, right? Mm-hmm. And then they're going to be able to pay for their education based on that. And the problem with that is when you put timelines like that on your development, what happens is you put yourself in a box that's really tough, right?
Right.
What you have to do, and we all get to that once we get comfortable with whatever the business that we're in is. When we get comfortable enough to know, hey, I know exactly what I'm doing. I know how to manage my output based on the effort that I'm putting into it. The mindset changes, right?
Right.
And so for me, that changed when the aha moment of someone saying, based on what I presented to them, that they wanted to let me purchase their property, right? No money
Mhm.
down, be able to wholesale their property. So that for me was the when I started changing my mindset, right, to being, to the abundance mindset, because I stopped worrying about what the next deal was, because I was like, oh, well, you know how to get to the next deal. You processized all of the things in your business, and if you continue to do what you're doing now, you'll get to the next deal. So that for me was the point where I said, I'm going to start pouring into a lot of other students that are running into that same issue. So
Great.
back then, I started talking to Jamil, and I started talking to all of the students that would reach out to me and ask for help, because I had gotten past that point. And I think once people get to that point, then they can start pouring into other people, right? Because
I
then
love it.
how is anybody else going to trust you if you're telling me how to do a deal if you haven't done one, right?
Right, you have to have done deals before
Correct,
100%.
correct,
So
correct.
explain more, because I didn't 100% get it. So was it your first deal where that started happening, or was it when you actually started creating the procedures and started tracking your KPIs? I'm curious.
Well,
Was it after the
when
first
I
deal?
started,
Was it
no, it definitely wasn't after the first deal.
right?
I'm a lucky guy, right? So my first deal, I got a list off PropStream. I skip traced it with the white label batch, which is what is it, Skip Vault, right?
Hmm.
I skip traced the list, right? Because I was cheap. I didn't have the money to continue to. I wanted to kind of stay within my budget, so I skip traced the list on Skip Vault because it was cheaper than regular batch, right?
Right.
And then I started cold calling and actually SMSing these leads out in San Bernardino. The good thing about it is I got a person that said that they wanted me to they would sell their home to me, and then we build up a rapport over probably another hour, and then they say, hey, I got another duplex next door. You can buy that one too, right?
I
So I
love
got
it.
deals. I got two deals. So, but that wasn't the point at which I turned the corner in regards to the abundance mindset. What made me do that was I was on a call with Jamil, one of our mentoring calls, and
By the way, I'm going to interrupt you because I realized I didn't say this.
yep.
Curtis and I, for everyone who's watching, are part of this mastermind. I'm wearing the other one, astro flipping. I was wearing the wrong hat. Astro flipping,
That's
which
pretty funny.
is basically Jamil Damji's mentorship. Astro flipping. A lot of you guys probably know it, but basically, it's all about the JV model and using wholesalers and agents and other people in your network to get deals instead of going direct to seller. That's how Curtis and I met, because we're both leaders in that community, and we talk all the time about ways to help other people, about deals, about us doing deals. And this is conversations we have a lot. Honestly, I just wanted to record one. So sorry to interrupt. I just realized I didn't do a
Oh,
good intro
sure.
for you.
No,
So
no,
let's go back to that moment, because
yeah.
this is the keys. Like,
So
explain
we had
even more for the people what switch from the survival mindset of like, man, like I need to get what's mine. I need to, like, I don't know if I'm gonna get that next deal. I need to do
yeah.
whatever it takes, even if I like, even if it's not like the way that I want to do it. When did it switch to like everybody can eat,
So
everybody can
it
have a
switched.
great time?
Well, so when I start, so that was a direct to seller. So I really didn't. That really didn't. I really didn't have that then. But
Your first deal.
when I turned the corner on that was when I started. What I started doing was I started creating processes in my business for how I cold called,
Mm,
how I created email templates. Everything is standardized in my business. So like my acquisition manager today, if I give out my SOPs to my team, and if they're doing a deal email, it looks just like I do a deal email. If they
mm,
cold call, it looks just like I cold call, right?
I love
So
that.
once I did that, what I started noticing is that there was a really good distinction between what I was creating there and what was coming out on the other end, which I was using, in my KPI reports, right? So whenever I see something in my KPI reports and it doesn't look good and I go and adjust the process, I noticed that would trend upward. And I was like, okay,
Right.
so it's directly related to my processes are related to what comes out on the other side.
I love
Right.
that.
And then once I figured that out, I just started scaling. Right. So I went from 1 to 3 to 5 to 15 to 20 to 25 a month. And I said, it's all about the scaling with the processes that I created. Right.
Yeah, like
And
how
then
many deals are you doing a month now? 45?
well,
Something crazy like that?
no, I did 42 last month, but that's it. That's
Oh,
kind of
okay, 42.
kind
What a
but
shame.
it's an anomaly because even last month, my gross revenue wasn't what it normally is, right?
Mhm.
So 42 me, I did a ton of micro flips, right?
Right,
At like 5K spread in Atlanta or
right,
Cleveland, right? Whereas I'll have a better month this month and I'll do less deals. But
right.
my average assignment fees on my direct to seller deals are a lot higher, and I'll do a little bit less micro flipping, right? So, but for me, that turned when I started doing that, right? When I started documenting, because for me, I would always be like, I could just remember it. I could figure it out on the fly. But there's a really big distinction between when you document your processes and you streamline your processes. And I'm always thinking of ways that I could streamline my processes to make them more efficient, right? When I first started off, I was doing it on a yellow pad, tracking everything, right? Then I said,
Mhm.
okay, I need to. Then I went to a Google Sheet. Then I went to like Podio. Then I went to other tool. But I'm always figuring out ways. I would create a process and then create a Podio app to do it, or create
How
some.
long how long did it take you to go from, "I'm starting this wholesale business," to that moment where you're like, "Okay, now I'm
Probably about 6 months.
comfortable."
6 months.
6
About six
months.
months. Yeah.
Nice.
Probably about like
Awesome.
I started that program like in March a couple of years ago. And then by like August, I was like, it was that aha moment, right? And so not only was I figuring out, but then I just start pouring into people. Because the one way to know if it's really working is if it's cool with, because sometimes you're just lucky, right? But
Yeah.
when you take your processes and you hand them off to other people and you say, "Hey, well, I'm not going to actually give them my SOPs, but I tell them exactly what I did, right?" And then they go and execute it and say,
Other
"Ah,
wholesalers.
now this makes sense," and I'm able to do the same thing. Because I've had conversations with guys, like Mahmoud or other people who were working in the market and getting tons of deals in escrow and not closing them, and then the conversation is, "Okay, did you do A, B, C, or D?" And they're like, "No."
Right,
Do A, B,
right.
C, and D next month, and they go do A, B, C, and next month, and they're like, "Oh, my deals are sticking in escrow. I'm closing 4 times as
You're
many
talking
deals."
about helping other wholesalers, right? I'm just
Correct, correct,
double checking.
correct,
Okay.
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Pouring in other wholesalers, and you and I both spend tons of time doing that, right? There
Yeah.
was a time where I was upwards over 250 calls a week with
That's
people
insane.
just asking for help, right?
Man.
Because as a trying to be a leader in that community, in Jamil's community, and make sure that everybody has that same level of satisfaction with what they're learning. And kind of me and Jamil had some significant conversations around that. And that was the reason why I developed my acquisitions academy, because one of the things about wholesaling that, for me that I
What
found
is that? Explain to the
here.
people what your acquisitions academy
So
is.
Acquisition Academy is a 6-week intensive where you work directly with me on learning how to run the acquisition side of a wholesale business,
Okay.
right? And the key though is I really wanted to help people not so one of the things that I saw that was missing with a lot of the programs that I saw out there, right? And I think Jamil's done he does a fabulous job at it, and I think Pace does a fabulous job at this, right?
Mhm.
They do a really good job at making sure that not only when they take the training wheels off that you can ride the bike, but that they're right there with you all along all the way,
It's so
right? So
true. I mean,
for
it's
me,
so insane that they
yeah,
both, I mean, Jamil talks twice a week. I
yeah,
mean,
dude, the
freaking
amount of content
Pace does like 6 Zooms a week. I
you
don't even understand. I'm like 6 Zooms, like that man doesn't sleep.
the
I don't even
amount of
understand
content
him.
the amount of content that they both have is crazy. But the thing is that's the one thing I think the one thing that really helped me is turning that corner though was when I start realizing like the theory of wholesaling is very easy.
Right.
Where a
Simple.
lot of people make the mistakes is that they don't understand the practical applications that go along with it, right? And
Mhm.
that's for me when I was able to figure that portion out and to apply, with procedures to practical application. That's for me when it turned to an abundant mindset for me, and I got out of that scarcity stuff. Saying, because I hear guys all the time. They would say to me all the time, "Hey, I got 3 more months, or I got another month in the program, and if I can't haven't done a deal by then, I'm gonna have to go back
We
and get
know
my
all those
my
guys.
9 to 5." Correct, correct, correct.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. I mean, what I think is amazing and what they've taught us that's even better that for all of us that at least made me feel really good about like what I'm able to do is they elevated us. You and me both got elevated by Jamil to be
Yep,
those guys who can help other people. And I
yep,
think that's honestly one of the best ways to learn too is
yeah.
just by helping other people. Yeah.
That is a great point because I think one of the problems with well, one of the advantages of their community, their mentorships and their training is the community, right?
Right.
We all do deals together. I mean, I have students that are sub two students, students that are Astro students, So it's I have people that I work with all the time that bring me deals, or I disposition deals through them that are sub two or Astro students. So I think that being part of a community is something that they've developed that I think really I don't know if it exists anywhere else because I haven't.
I have
And
no
this is
idea either.
this is my third mentorship, and I hadn't seen it before like this.
Right. So tell me a little bit about the story with the other mentorships. Like when you started it, you obviously started with a different mentorship.
Yep.
Didn't work out as well. Do they even do
Well,
Zooms with like the leader or anything like that?
yeah, well, it's funny. So I was in two other mentorships. I was in a Michael Blanc mentorship on syndications and private placement memorandums. Right, it was great. Right, all the
Mhm.
information was great, but to be able to with that one thing that we talked about, right, to be able to practically apply all of that stuff, it was at a entry point that was too costly for me, right? So I was learning the information, it was good information, and I was trying to execute upon the way they do, but unfortunately the roadblocks of me not having the financial backing or having a network of people who had that is different, right? Like I got now that I'm in wholesale, I guys that come to me all the time and say, "Hey, I have $6 million, I have $5 million, I have $2 million, and if you want to do some flipping, let me know. I'll fund it."
Crazy, right?
Yeah,
It's
but
crazy how
like
your buyers become your friends. I mean, I got
right,
invited to a Christmas party with one of my buyers. Like it's
see
gonna
that's
be
great.
great.
That's great. But before, before I didn't get that in that community. But now that I've developed things, I'm getting that kind of, I'm getting that. So that was that one. I thought that mentorship I thought that was gonna be a really good one for me because I really like multifamily, but the cost of entry was too much for me. So I had to do what I thought was right, and I jumped into wholesaling, which is I could actually earn money or put money aside so that now if I want to go buy multifamily, I can buy multifamily. I don't have to bring
Right.
in partners. I don't have to do any of that, right? So
Right.
so now that's really good. The other mentorship that I was in prior to that was a mentorship with a guy named Sharif Medawar, who's a guru in regards to syndications and commercial properties, right? And he's the first person I ever heard about the option from, right? He did a deal in the French Polynesian Virgin French Islands with a person on an option for a deal and made like $9 million, right? So
Wow.
yeah, so those are really
Damn.
cool. Those are really cool, but it was a little bit out of my league in regards to the mentorships.
Right,
When I
because
got
you
into
just started.
wholesaling, when I got into wholesaling, it made a lot of sense for me, but I had a little bit of background because of those other mentorships. So I had a really solid foundation, and so it helped me progress a little faster, I think, and
Mhm.
get to that point where the fear was gone, right? And then I got into that abundant mindset, and things change when you get confidence, get into abundant mindset. You start to figure the ability to scale is super easy because you've done it, right? You've been able to go from
Right.
1 to 3 to 5, 5 to 10, 10 to 15 or 20, whatever. So it's once you do that, okay, I got the confidence I can do that. That's when I scale down in the other markets that same way. And now it's
How many
it's
markets are you in?
40.
40
40.
markets. This guy's in 40 markets for the
Yeah,
7 people that are on here, or 8 people that are on here. 40
yeah,
markets makes
yeah.
me makes my head hurt, dude.
It makes my
Just
but
FYI.
but what's crazy is I mean, like we talked about, right? Doing 42 deals or doing 25 deals. I may not do a deal in every market every month, right? But I manage my pipeline really well, and I try to execute on my goals to get to my pipeline every month,
I
right?
love
So
it.
that's
So
kind
I
of
have
what.
another question for you because we were on mentorship, and this is something I've thought about, and I'd love your opinion on this. Just the value of mentorships in general. Like I remember when I started like a year and a half ago, I
Mhm,
really didn't want to do any mentorship, and this just might be my own. I have this thing where I like being independent, and I like the idea for my ego to be like, no, I did it on my own. I didn't
mhm,
need anybody. I'm a goddamn genius.
mhm,
You know, and I remember thinking that and then being so thankful that Keegley did a good sales pitch to me because my story a little bit is I was broke. Like I had just gotten out of the Peace Corps type of broke. I had probably $5,000 to my name or something like that, and
mhm.
I was like, all right, I'm just gonna trust these guys and pay them
Yeah,
$5,000 and hope this works out. Which
yeah.
I got lucky, it did. But I'm curious what you think of just in general, like the value of a good mentor. Like, what do you think of mentorship in general and what it's done for
I think
you and what it's done for others?
I think it's so I thought tons about like trying to do wholesaling from like YouTube University
Right,
initially, right? And then I kind of weighed it out and I'm like, can't be any worse than the stuff I've been in before. And those guys, I'm gonna tell you, the two other mentors that I had prior to Jamil were brilliant guys, right?
right,
But the community for me wasn't, well, the community in Michael Blanc's community was good, but it just wasn't what it is and wasn't for me in Astro, right? And so I think if you are going to do something, like whatever it happens to be, you should always find someone who is successful at it and get them to help you and save you from getting the lumps on your heads of failure. Because if you try to do it on your own, you're gonna have like, for
it's
instance,
gonna be so bad.
if you get under contract with a deal today and you haven't been in a mentorship that's going to train you how to do things the right way, and your seller backs out of the deal, even though you're already in escrow, and they're just waiting for you to call, who's going, you don't know to go file a memorandum of contract, right? You don't know
Right,
those. So you could put yourself in some legal scenario where it could cost you more than that mentorship would have cost you in the first place. But the value of having a mentorship is that the first guy that I took in as a mentorship in my wholesale business in a box, his first month he did 42 grand. Matter of fact, he did 42 grand on his first
love
deal,
it,
right?
love it,
So
amazing.
it's like, but on his own, he would not have done that, right? Because he would not have had the my vision in regards to the many ways that you can do deals within wholesaling, that from my experiences, right? And that helped him, right? And I think it's extremely important to have a mentor in your journeys to help you. I just think that it stops people from making mistakes that they can make that would cost them way more than a mentorship would cost them in the first place. Yeah, are they going to figure it out at some point? Yeah, you keep doing it, you'll figure it
A
out.
year and a half later, like you'll do it, like,
Yeah,
and you bumble
but
through it.
how much money did you leave on the table? How
So
much
true.
how much terrible experience did you get to go through? And you could have avoided it all by having someone solid who, it, like, I sometimes my student, they'll reach out and call me. Like I had one call me today about a deal that they had going on and asked for my opinion on the best route to move forward with that. Right. And then 2 hours later called me and said, "Hey, thanks for the advice you gave me earlier. It worked out that way. I closed the deal for $32,000." That
Hell yeah.
is what
Let's
I'm
go. Curtis
about.
getting people $32,000 deals, $42,000 deals.
You have to have the ability to, I mean, just from a mentorship, right? You want to be around people. Like I'm like, if I have a substitute question, I'll reach out to you, I'll reach out to Pace, I'll reach out to people that are close to me, like Sean O'Connor. I'll reach out to people that actually understand and know that I'm not gonna try to do a sub-2 deal myself because I don't have enough background to be able to not make a mistake, right? And
Right.
I think that it makes sense if I'm gonna do that type of deal to reach out to you guys, because it can, it's,
Well,
you're going to see things that I can't. Yeah. And I always think about that too, right? Collaboration over competition is ultimately one of the biggest reasons why I'm successful too. My deal, even the deals that I get that are direct to seller, most of them come from acquisition wholesalers who have them direct to seller who don't have dispositions. So they're like, I can go back to working on acquisitions and just send the deals over to you, right? So, and the
right.
rest of the stuff I get is micro flips, mostly micro flips that I dispo. They send them to me, I mark them up, and or we split the assignment fee, and I market them to my cash buyers list, and so I can spend more time building cash buyers list, and I don't have to worry about tons of direct to seller. Even though we're doing, we do agent outreach, we do direct to
Well, you
seller.
do everything. Like it
But
doesn't
that,
even
well,
like
yeah,
if there's a
and,
way to make money. I mean, this
yeah,
guy's
you have
building rocket ships. Probably we don't
well,
even know.
you have to have like a hybrid model, and because every market's not the same, right? You're in Northern
Right.
California, right? So it's that way. But I think the value of mentorship, people don't underestimate, think it saves you money. Just find a quality mentor, vet them, your mentor, and then talk to people who've worked with them, who've either been successful and some who haven't, right? And try to figure out why, if that's the person that you're going to go with. But figure that out, because I
And
think,
something I want to add on to what you're saying right now for people who
yep,
are looking for mentors, you should even like, yes, A, they should have the knowledge of what you want to be doing. B, what do you think of them as like a human being? It's hard when it's through ads, but I've noticed, for instance, there are people like Max Maxwell who seems like a cool guy and
yep,
he knows a ton, but like when I compare him to somebody like Pace or Jamil or Brent, they're constant like trying to like Pace, for instance, and I bet Jamil like gets stressed like when people aren't getting it, or like when they think they could help more but they're not. And it's crazy to see that. And it's also, I think, that something people should realize is it should be based on the mentor's character, because that's going to affect you and how you do business 100%. It's something that I've been thinking about a lot of, like, damn, like these people are heroes to a lot of people. I'd say they're my heroes, at least business wise, of like, damn, like if like just to be like, I don't know personally if I want to be like doing as much crazy stuff as Jamil and Pace are. I might.
yeah.
I'm not sure yet, but I know that if I was as good of men as they are, I would be very
Yeah.
satisfied, because they're just
That's interesting, because you look at like the industry, right? And guys like Maxwell, I like Mac Maxwell. I think he spends a tons of time pouring into communities the same way as those guys, right? I think he runs kind of in the same circle as most of those guys, right? Some of them, I think him and Pace even has businesses together, right? So I think one of the things that's really important about whoever
not
you
trying to
decide.
talk shit about Max Maxwell. Like,
No, 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 no. I'm not saying that you're doing that. I'm just saying that I think whoever you decide to be your mentor, you have to spend time understanding a lot about like who they are and what kind of person you're dealing with, right? Because it's important, right? It's important, and it's tons of guys out there. Like Jamil says this all the time, right? It's 1,000 guys that are wholesale gurus in Phoenix, right? And it's the same. It's the same here in LA, right? It's the same thing. Tons of guys with courses out there, right? I do outreach all the time, and I get tons of people that respond back to me and said, you want to get in my mentorship, right? So it's just how it is, right? So it's as many people selling deals as it is people. But I would say be very careful about the mentorships you get into, and make sure you spend time understanding not only the people in that community, but the person that you're going to be, because you're kind of in a business relationship until you get an ROI on your investment. So you better like that person in that community, or you're gonna.
Right.
It's tough.